One of my most favorite books of all times is The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth. I highly recommend you read it. Basically, the book argues that the nature of technology is deflationary, which means that the prices should go down as our technology improves. And yet the reality is showing us the opposite. This is super relevant to your crypto journey, which is why we're going to explore and examine this concept today and look at what deflation means. If you haven't already, be sure to watch my previous video about inflation. Then everything I talk about here will make more sense. I'm Somi Arian. I'm a tech philosopher and the founder of the FemPeak platform, where visionary individuals come to stay in the know and ahead of the curve in business and technology. I'm super passionate about getting more people on board with Web3, investing, and financial empowerment. Please just remember, nothing I say here is financial advice, and I'm not a financial advisor. So if you are on board, let's dive right in. If you remember in the last video, I explained that inflation means when you get less for your money. In contrast, then, deflation means when you get more for your money. Now, you may wonder why deflation is even a thing. After all, our experience in life has always been one of inflation. When have the prices ever gone down, right? The house prices have risen so much over the past couple of decades that it's made it almost impossible for our generation, that is the millennials, to own property. Food, household goods and services, gas and electricity, and almost everything else has gotten more expensive. However, the truth is that this is not the natural way it should be, because technology is by nature deflationary. What that means is that as technology becomes more advanced, it should technically cost less to produce things. Automation means that many things that would formerly take a long time to do manually should now be easier and faster to do with machines. So in reality, everything should be getting cheaper, and yet our experience shows that everything is getting more expensive. Something's not quite right. The truth is that governments need inflation, and they will do everything in their power to keep inflation high, because it gives them control and allows them to manipulate the flow of money to where they want it to go. Inflation gives the governments an excuse to keep printing money, and then printing of the money leads to more inflation, and so on and so forth. In the beginning of the 21st century, the global debt was around 62 trillions, and the size of the global economy was around 33 trillions. This means that the size of our debt was twice the size of our economy. Fast forward to about 20 years later, and the size of the global debt has increased to over 250 trillion. And the size of the global economy has gone into over 80 trillion. This means that we have printed 3 times as much money and generated 3 times as much debt to double the size of our economy in 2 decades. It doesn't take a math genius to figure out that this is not sustainable. And just like a balloon, continued inflation will come with a massive burst of this bubble. Now, this level of inflation has been created despite the deflationary nature of technology. So if you're wondering how governments have been able to justify the money printing, even though technically the prices should have gone down, the answer is crises. Look at the number of crises that we have had over the past 2 decades. It began with the 9/11, and then the entire world's attention was on that for a few years. Then it was the Iraq and Afghanistan war. Then it was terrorism for several years, and we were kept in a state of terror, and our attention was hijacked by that. Then it was the pandemic, and now it's Russia's attack on Ukraine, and possibly even a conflict between China and Taiwan. Don't you think it's strange that there is constantly something hijacking our attention while giving the governments a reason to keep borrowing and adding to the inflation? Governments need inflation to stay in power. In contrast, technology is deflationary, and these two forces are at odds with each other. Now, with decentralization and Internet of Things powered by AI, we're potentially at the edge of being able to organize ourselves more efficiently as a society without the need for big corporations and governments. Naturally, these big organizations aren't going away without a fight, so prepare yourself. And one way you can do so is by educating yourself about crypto and decentralization. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel and press that like button. This will help more people discover these videos. Also, be sure to ping that notification bell so you're alerted when I release the next video. And let me know in the comments what other topics you would like me to cover. Finally, if you like what you see here, join the FemPeak platform, where we have live mentoring sessions with industry experts, and you can network with other visionaries like yourself.